Hi there, beloved friends. Disregard that this is a messy hair day, and I wanted to go into some things that are really current for us right now. Big shifts happening, and I have just done a quantum healing session that was done on me. Someone who is practicing to get her now that she's trained, and it was very deep. I got into opening up and experiencing parallel lives, and since then, I think some more has been just constantly opened up in the parallel life thing. Excuse me. And I'm explaining it now as I'm reading in this Larkma's Pleiadian Earth astrology, when she's talking about DNA and species evolution, human evolution, basically. We're going through a human evolution. I think that scientists have already found two new active genes since the 70s in children that are born. Well, scientists are limited, but let me read what is in here. Expanding on the Pleiadian perspective, Larkma tells us that the 10 strands of DNA that have not yet been defined by our current science connected to other dimensions are also yet undiscovered. Many of us are aware that we are part of a larger reality that cannot presently be validated by our three-dimensional science. Isn't it worth considering that our so-called junk DNA could actually represent the 10 strands defined by the Pleiadians as our connection to ourselves and other dimensions? So science calls this extra DNA, that's not the two strands, junk DNA. But Pleiadians have told us that we have 12 actual strands, only 2 are active now. So Larkma speaks frequently about parallel selves in other dimensions. And what if these parallel selves are connected to a strand of our own DNA? As we begin to awaken, we become aware of the existence of the other parts of ourselves. Okay, so if you're starting to feel connected elsewhere, and crazy is the new normal. So just realize you're normal, all right? Okay. Perhaps we are unaware of other 10 strands of DNA because we only attune to the frequencies of the 2 known strands that are easily accessible. Because all DNA vibrates, the implication for the other 10 strands of DNA is that each one may be vibrating at a frequency that is resonating only with a dimension of a concurrent vibration, which is not our third dimensional vibrational frequency. Let me explain that. So we've been so trained to see things in like 3-dimension, time and space, linear Newtonian physics. It's all our schooling and its upbringing and our training. So when other things are perceived by us, we dismiss them. We may not even allow them to come into our consciousness. But what's happening more and more now is we are opening up to the awareness of beyond what we've been taught to believe and to imagine and to experience. And you may want to go back to your 4 or 5-year-old self, or look at a young child, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just observe what they are perceiving and experiencing on their own in nature. Young babies even. And then you may be able to tap into your own abilities beyond the conditioning of where we've been allowed to bring our consciousness. And no, it's all love, so there's nothing to be afraid of. There is a fear programming put into us to prevent us from looking beyond what the 3D little confines are. So just breathe into your heart with love. Okay, here we go again. The the implication that there are other strands that are in a vibrational frequency that is not our third dimensional frequency, it does not conflict with physics, which acknowledges that there are an infinite number of dimensions within the universe. So real physics acknowledges that. Each dimension is like a radio bandwidth, described in terms of frequencies. We can define any dimension in terms of unique spectrum or frequencies. So it's kind of like turning the dial on the radio and listening to this FM music station or to this AM news station. It's just turning the dial. It's turning our focus, our awareness, our consciousness. And sometimes when we sleep, we turn our consciousness to another dimension, and that's where our dreams guide us. Our dreams give us information. And prayer, meditation, just going in nature, many different ways that we can kind of get into the zen of allowing ourselves to connect to other dimensions besides the narrow three-dimensional experience. By definition, we cannot see or hear or touch frequencies that are out of our own bandwidth or frequency range. Yet, the third dimension is rather dense in its manifestation, focused on slow vibrations that manifest as our dense physical world. However, frequencies that vibrate at a higher rate are lighter, and realities that may resonate with those frequencies would, by definition, have to exist in a dimension outside of our own third dimension. Because humanity's collective attention is tuned to the specific frequency of this third dimension, we often forget the other non-physical energies even exist, or that other dimensions may actually be part of the larger reality. Our most advanced scientists are barely beginning to understand this larger reality that contains multiple dimensions. And now I'm going to give you a personal experience from when I was a research assistant for a professor of public policy making, political science. And I was collecting data for him. And the statistics. And when I collected this data, it just really hit me strongly that it doesn't make sense that humanity is existing today based on the stupid decisions that we make, politically or whatever. And I knew at that time there was another force, another energy that was directing humanity, because we did exist, that was just on another level, on a more benevolent level. So that was my personal experience. I think many of us have these personal experiences that give us kind of, aha, this isn't all there is to it. There's more. And I'm going to read on just the rest of this particular chapter so you can get some of this information along with me. Since everything that exists literally has its own unique energy, DNA can also be viewed in terms of energy, vibration, frequency, or wave form. These are interchangeable terms that offer different ways of looking at the same phenomena, the wave nature of creation. Energy has its own intelligence, and it organizes itself according to the frequency in which it's expressed. Frequencies of one dimension exchange information with or interact with the frequencies of anything they encounter within that dimension. Physics confirms this, even though the language of physics is different from the language we are using here. At the energetic level, it is not the physical object that matters, but the frequency that is expressed. Therefore, it is possible to define each dimension according to its own bandwidth. Physics continually remind us that everything is energy existing in particular frequencies. Of the possible 12 dimensions suggested by Larkma, the third dimension operates at the lowest frequency. It is the most physically dense according to physics, just as solid ice is denser than water vapor. As each dimension increases in number from 4 to 12, its frequency has a bandwidth of frequency that is higher than a radio bandwidth. This is a general property of energy. Lower vibrations correspond to lower energies, higher vibrations indicate higher energies. With our attention tuned to familiar third dimensional frequencies, most of us are just not aware or are only becoming aware of other frequencies that exist. We also tend to think of ourselves only as the third dimensional body we inhabit. We rarely consider the parts of ourselves may simultaneously exist in parallel realms and other dimensions. Quantum physics points out that the quantum world is invisible to the naked eye, yet is teeming with life. A principle called quantum entanglement occurs when a pair of groups of particles interact in ways that make them depend on each other, causing them to become entangled through coherence and behave as a single particular particle, no matter how far apart they may be. In quantum entanglement, the quantum state of each particle cannot be described independently of the state of the other. Likewise, information about the one particle improves our knowledge of the other. Recently, quantum physics revealed that the phenomena of quantum entanglement could theoretically be the physical mechanism that holds DNA together. We propose that quantum entanglement could also mean that we are all connected and affect each other all the time. Going further, what if the idea of quantum entanglement could be stretched to suggest that we are synchronistically connected to other aspects of ourselves as they exist in other dimensions? And we become more aware of these dimensions and aspects of ourselves as the DNA for those dimensions begins to awaken. Looking for the missing strands of our own DNA outside our perception in the third dimension may open us to a greater awareness of our conscious energetic beings of other conscious energetic beings who inhabit these higher frequencies or dimensions. We may also integrate more aspects of ourselves into our core essence as we begin to remember parts of ourselves that are expressing in multi-dimensions. And so I go back to the connectiveness of one another, how we are all connected in this quantum entanglement, and we impact and affect one another. So I've often said, I don't need to know the diagnosis of the disease or the problem. I just need to know the cure. Self-love. Self-love is bringing joy, beauty, love, truth into yourself, and therefore into the entangled process with all others. Just breathe in and feel the love as I'm feeling this sunlight coming on me. Feel the sunlight of love inside of yourself. Just breathe with that, be with it. Be with the sunlight of love right from your heart, expanding out. Allow yourself to receive the love coming to you from the entire universe. Allow yourself to open up to the awareness of the divine love pouring into you. Allow yourself to open into awareness of greater joy and bliss and happiness. Just allow for this beautiful love to exist in you at this moment and in any moment that you can think of it. Allow yourself to be aware of, to feel the love coming into you. And I thank you for your self-love, for doing this, allowing of love to come into you and joy. Because as you do so, you're also bringing it to me and to many others that are entangled with you in this whole humanity, in this whole Mother Earth, in this whole universe. And you get to experience the joy of this love. Let your heart shine. Let your love shine. And go forth with blessing.